Let's talk a little bit about the role of aluminum in vaccines. So, why are we putting what we use to wrap up our food when we have leftovers into vaccines?
Right, so aluminum salts act as an adjuvant, and what adjuvant means is it allows you to give either fewer doses of a vaccine or lesser quantities of the active ingredient of the vaccine. It enhances the immune response. So we've been using adjuvants like aluminum or aluminum salts in vaccines really since the 1940s. So we have an extensive decades, like roughly 80 years of experience with aluminum salts and vaccines. And we know that they're benign. We know that like aluminum, first of all, is the most abundant metal on the Earth's crust. It's a light metal. It's in the air we breathe. It's in the water we drink. It's in a number of the foods that we eat. There is no avoiding aluminum any more than there's avoiding the heavy metals that exist on the Earth's crust. So if you look in the bloodstream of people who haven't received any vaccines, for example, you're going to find aluminum. You're going to find also heavy metals like mercury and thallium and beryllium and cadmium and arsenic because we live on the Earth's crust. There is no avoiding that. When we went through this with mercury back in the sort of early 2000s, late 1990s, I had to testify at a committee meeting once where one of the congressmen stood up and he said, you know, when it comes to mercury, I have zero tolerance. Well, if you have zero tolerance for mercury, you got to move to another planet because on this planet, there's mercury. And if you've ever testified in front of committee hearings, congressmen moving to another planet is actually not the worst idea. So the question is then if you get injected with aluminum, because obviously when you ingest aluminum, when you eat aluminum, you'll take about 1% of that into your bloodstream. Obviously, when you inject it, 100% gets into your bloodstream. So wouldn't that be much worse? But again, if you look at people, children who get aluminum vaccines, you can't tell that they've increased their level of aluminum because it's so quickly excreted from the body and because you always have aluminum in your body anyway, because you're always eating aluminum or drinking aluminum.
So, I want to go back to just one more study, and that is the blood and hair aluminum levels vaccine history and early infant development across sectional study. So, what did that tell us about aluminum in vaccination?
Well, so there was no correlation between the level of blood or hair aluminum and problems regarding development, which tells you what you would imagine, which is that, you know, you live on a planet where aluminum is common. People eat and drink and inhale aluminum. You can't find anything having to do with vaccines that affects that. But more importantly, the level of aluminum that you're typically exposed to doesn't cause any sort of developmental problems for the same reason that the level of mercury that you're exposed to typically in the environment, or thallium or cadmium or beryllium or arsenic affects you either. We're all exposed to those trace amounts, but I think we have trouble accepting that. I think if you tell people that you have trace amounts of arsenic in your bloodstream, knowing that high quantities of arsenic can be fatal, that scares people, and it shouldn't, because it's okay to have levels of these metals, either heavy or light metals, that are not harmful because there's no avoiding it. And I think that's what this study is very reassuring, that you're not likely to that there is no correlation between aluminum in blood and hair and any sort of developmental problems.